Good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime Coaching. My name is Kim Britz, executive coach and international leadership facilitator and host to the Lunchtime series where we add value to people's lives. Today we're chatting to healer, metaphysician, meditation facilitator, Brenda Stevens. Brenda, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, Kevin.
Thank you for joining us today. The topic of discussion is so interesting, and why don't you just give us to kick it off, give us an intro of what it is you do and what metaphysician even means, just so people know what it is you do.
Okay. Well, basically, I'm an energetic or holistic healer, and I think people kind of look or hear that, and it goes zooming over their heads. So,
Yes.
Essentially, what I have is a couple of modalities that I use to help people to heal themselves. And one of the things that I do a lot of is meditation groups and things like that, which help people to de-stress.
Yes.
And well, I also facilitate that kind of thing, and I also facilitate or try and help people to find ways to bring awareness into their lives so that they can actually understand. And I do this because I tend to be an anxious person myself.
Yeah.
So I know what it's like, and often I have to stop myself and recognize that, that crunched up shoulder, sort of like, whoa, you're carrying a lot of tension today, and learn and teach myself to drop that and relax.
Yeah.
So it's through teaching myself how to be aware that I found that how important it is to actually focus on all aspects of our holistic health. So that is why I think that's why I've sort of put it into a caption of being a holistic healer. Metaphysician is just it. I'm not a doctor. I have some modalities of healing that I have gotten through an ancient well, it's called the Modern Mystery School, but it's an ancient art that has been handed down through oral tradition, and basically that's where my core healings come from. So essentially that is where the meta being outside of the physical or the physical science aspects of things. That's where metaphysician comes in.
So,
Yes.
don't you just want to give us, I listen to the word healer as well, and I think people have quite a misperception about it, and they kind of put healing outside of them the whole time, and very much, I look at a lot of the times when I'm doing coaching and helping executives through moments, a lot of what they're requiring is internal healing, whether that be a limiting decision, a limiting belief, a limiting self-image, all of that sort of piles up. And I think, just to preface, there's more healing that we're capable of than what we'd like to think, or that we even give ourselves permission to experience. Is that a fair analogy of it?
Yes, it is. And I think what I would like to do is kind of like coach that in sort of like learning to live intentionally. You do not have to be sick to be healthy.
Yes.
In other words, you don't have to. If I don't feel unwell, why should I go to a doctor, or why should I go and seek help? It's not about that. It's actually preparing and taking care of yourself so that when the crisis might hit, or when you are needing to tap into something more than you haven't burnt the candle at both ends, and there's nothing for you. There's nothing left because you basically haven't felt unwell. You're just very, very busy. And I know that you like to focus on time management and putting all sorts of aspects of value into a person or an executive's life. And that includes time for themselves. And I think we've all heard that expression when we've flown from one destination to another. Always ensure that you put your mask on first before you help someone else.
Yes.
And that is essentially what it's about, taking care of yourself. And that's what I want to focus on is that self-care and bringing awareness to it, so that instead of drifting along from that first cup of coffee in the morning as you dash for the car and head out the door kind of thing, to the moment you come home and fall into a couch and collapse. You think, wow, that was a busy day. And you haven't once actually stopped and slowed down, and you wonder why you're actually running out of energy.
Yeah.
So that is where the healing comes in.
As you say that, I think, one of the, it's becoming a bigger and bigger awareness, I think, in South Africa, but in the world, not to mention COVID, that's just adding to the stress and the strain of our lives. But essentially, this lends itself to mental health in a big way. And again, we very often take that step of going, I'm not capable of dealing with my mental health. I'll have to go and see someone, or I'll have to go to that doctor, or I'll have to go and take that medicine, or but yet when I take that step back, like you mentioned, and you do a bit of a process, and you do a bit of a moment for yourself, a lot of that intentionally looking after your health and yourself really changes how we do that brain language thing, and that whole mental health question, right?
Yes, and that is why October the 10th was actually Mental Wellness Day, and I thought it was extremely appropriate at the time.
Yeah.
Which is why I wanted to focus more on the mental health of things, and I think COVID has actually gifted us that in a way, if you can consider it a gift.
Yes.
It made us slow down. It made us stop, and for some of us, there have been moments of isolation that have been terrible, but for others it's been a kind of like being able to just slow down.
Yeah.
And that has been very regenerative for a lot of people, to the extent that I think some people are thinking, it's quite nice working from home over online or something like that, and maybe just going out occasionally. But the mental part of it I said COVID gifted it to us because some of us battled through COVID. Well, it's not like we're not still doing it, but that concept of, and I don't know if you might have felt it, but I'm sure some people will recognize the sort of some of the symptoms where you were unable to sleep properly, or you woke up intermittently during the night. And there was this, you couldn't focus on anything or even read a novel, let alone some interesting article on something pertinent to your business. You just could not be recognized as a form of depression. And that is part of our mental health. And it's being aware of that. There's this quote that, sorry.
No, Kara.
There's this quote that I still remember, and I'm going back 8 years. So this is the interesting thing. It comes from a TED talk that Andy, and I hope I pronounce his name correctly, Padakam, actually said, is that we live in an incredibly busy world where the pace of our life is often so frantic and our minds are always busy and we're always doing something. COVID stopped us from doing that to some extent. That quote, or that talk, was done 8 years ago, and the sad fact is that it still is very pertinent today.
Yeah.
Because we do fill our lives with crazy time schedules, and we forget, and we actually think that's normal.
Yeah.
And I'll take that one step further, and we're teaching our children that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't just go to school, but they go to extramural activities and maybe extra maths lessons so that they achieve, or that they do better than, or they go for extra tennis lessons, or they do something else, and their day becomes filled. There's no time just to be a child, to play at your own pace. So it's like we're so frenetic, we're actually teaching our children that habit as well. And it's actually, we're missing out on a lot.
Yeah.
Because we're so, it's like we're on that speed train, and we're actually just glancing as the life goes by us, because we're so busy and so focused. And
Don't you want to
that can
also,
generate a lot of stress.
but sorry, and don't you want to just touch on the importance of meditation? Or at least the benefits of meditation and mindfulness. I know there's so many supporting studies to this, but don't you want to just give us some idea, because you also do this as part of your mental wellness sort of stress for corporates in groups. Don't you want to give us some idea of what that looks like, and why that's important and how that plays out?
Okay, so a lot of people think that meditation is sitting on the mountain in that lotus position with your hands in this position known as a mudra. But no, it doesn't have to be like that. And all that I've been talking about, that busyness, we've actually got to slow it down. And how do you slow it down? One of the ways is by actually meditating. And if you take 3 minutes out of your day to do it, because I'm too busy for this, or my mind's too busy. Well, the Buddhists call that mind the drunken monkey. And yes, it's going the
Yes.
whole time. And it is one of our most precious resources, and we tend to neglect it. 47% of our lives are lost in thought.
Wow.
So if they are lost in thought, if we are unaware of our thought processes, then we're losing 40% of our lives in such a way. So meditation, what it does is it slows down the process. It takes you into an alpha or a theta status, which we don't have to go into, but it's just a slower wave, energetic wave or microwave, or what it does is it slows things down. And meditation doesn't have to be a formal thing. You could literally just manage it, or you could consider focusing on a candle and breathing for 3 minutes, or focusing on your breath. And that immediately will slow your heart rate and your thinking process down. And it's as simple as that. Okay, there are different types of meditation, but it doesn't mean that everyone does meditation in the same way.
Yeah.
You know, the courses that, or the groups that I offer, we use particularly use a meditation called max meditation. And that is designed for the mind, the Western world, not an Eastern mind. It is designed for that frantic, busy, crazy, drunken monkey mind. It is designed, and it's broken up into 5 parts, where you literally focus on your breathing initially, and then you take it to a deeper relaxation, and then you go to various parts of your body. And the word is a powerful thing, so it might seem strange to some people that we actually command our body to relax, because in speaking out that command, it's as powerful as maybe a prayer could be, or a request, if you vocalize it.
Yeah.
And so that is what that is basically what meditation does. It also reduces the stress levels, because when you're in a panic situation and you literally take in 3 deep breaths, it can change your mindset in a way, or it can change your anxiety or your state.
Yes.
That's what the benefits of meditation or meditative movement or even breath work is that it slows everything down. And if you're focusing on one thing, you can't be focusing on something else.
Mm.
So the argument might be then, yeah, but when I'm meditating 3 minutes into it, I'm busy thinking of the shopping list or the next meeting I'm going to. That's cool. If you're aware of it and you notice it, and like a cloud, you sort of push it to one side, or you let it just drift away.
Yeah.
And then you bring your focus back. That is not failure, that is success, because you have brought yourself back to the now and the awareness of where you are. So, like any other practice or exercise, if you're actually going to be doing it for a long time, when you first start doing it, you have to practice over and over and over again. You're not going to be, a sort of meditation guru off the bat.
Yeah.
But you don't have to be. It's just about slowing everything down. I would say it's basically it's the health benefits are amazing. It's almost like a day at the spa, and I know a lot of executives do not have time for a day at the spa, but they could do with one.
Absolutely, yeah. So from the information that you've shared, you also point out there's an acronym for STOP that you share.
Yeah.
Don't you want to
Yes.
walk us through that, how, because it lends itself really well to that meditation process, and like just getting your brain on board with what that looks like and how that behaves.
Okay, so it's yes, the acronym is STOP. And often we're actually in a situation where we start to get into a panic to what happens if this, and we'll work ourselves up or get all sort of like blow it out of proportion or something like that, or what happens if this doesn't happen and I'm not prepared for that, or whatever it is that's sort of raising your anxiety levels. All you have to do is just literally stop. So just stop. Stop what you're doing. Take a few deep breaths.
Yes.
Possibly 3 or 4, and be mindful of those breaths so that you're actually breathing in through your nose. And you follow that breath all the way down till you feel your belly expanding.
Yeah.
You're immediately shifting yourself away from the problem because you're having to focus on where your breath's going. So you're going in. And then you're breathing out through your mouth. And then you do that 2 or 3 more times. That automatically will make you slow down. You will almost feel a little bit more relaxed. And that's just, just following your breath.
Yeah.
So while you're doing that, that's the T, take a few breaths.
Yeah.
Then you go to the O, which is observing this experience. So you observe this, you observe where your emotions are. So you stop, you take a few breaths, and you actually then go back and note where you are now compared to where you were before those first few breaths, and how your emotional state might be at that particular moment. And you remind yourself that these are just thoughts. They're not things that are actually happening right now. They can change. They are not permanent. And see if you can possibly even reframe that emotion. Notice, see where you're feeling it. Is it in the tension in the jaw? Are you crunching up? Are you gripping the seat? Is your stomach going around in sort of like crazy circles or something like that? So wherever you notice you're carrying that tension, that is bringing awareness back to yourself and to your body again. So that is observing it. And if you can actually name those emotions and observe where you're actually, goodness gracious, I'm actually clenching my jaw so tight that I couldn't even put a straw into my mouth, or whatever it is, and you're feeling that discomfort, you just notice it. You don't have to do anything about it, but being aware, observing it is a process.
Absolutely.
So then you proceed with something that will support you at that particular moment. That's the P. You get up from your desk, you go for a walk around, if you happen to be working from home and have a garden, go for a walk, go see what's happening outside if the sun's come out, read a book, go make yourself a cup of tea. Whatever you do it with intention. So you're going to get up from there and you're going to maybe take a glass of water and you're going to take a sip, but actually do it intentionally. And it's crazy, we do so much automatically. Just that sip of water and actually feeling it going down, it's cooler than
What it was
the
before,
interior.
yeah.
So that would be things that you're doing to take yourself away from the moment, and then you come back to whatever it was and see where you're at. Where's that emotion now? Has it calmed down a bit? Or do you need to give yourself a little bit more space? And that for me is a wonderful thing, because it can stop that panic, that anxiety.
Absolutely,
In
yeah.
its
So in terms of
tracks.
yeah, so going through the process of stop what you're doing, take a few breaths, observe your experience, proceed with a supporting moment. Speak to us around the mindfulness of that, because I think people often try to like they try and rush meditation, or they try and rush the moment, they try and rush the intention. Like the mindfulness of like taking the moment, drink water, and feel what you're feeling. I think people are so habit formed in their habit formed processes, that intentionally drinking a glass of water sounds ludicrous, until you kind of going, no, actually pay attention to what it is you're touching, pay attention. And there's so many techniques that you mentioned that I also use, where for example, when you just want people's attention into the space, into the now, is I often say, think about your toes, think about how your toes are in your shoes and what it's touching, and then invariably people will go, what? Like, think about your toes? But the moment they kind of go, it like brings them right into that moment going, why the hell are we thinking about my toes? But speak to us, about the mindfulness, because you mentioned stuff like the catastrophic thinking. I've recently chatted about that as well, and it's great to have that emphasis, and how our brains get out of whack. But speak to us about more mindfulness and why this is important.
So a little while back, I said something about, being, for what, 47% of our lives are lost in thought. And that seems to be kind of a real waste of time. But you see, the problem with that is that our thoughts create our reality, and that sounds okay, that's so new age. But if we are going to constantly go round and round and on a particular situation, we're not going to go anywhere. We need to stop it. Okay, so that's where the stop comes in.
Yeah.
The catastrophizing it is sort of like, okay, so I forgot to get this in on time. Oh, now they're going to and the boss has called me, and he's going to, and you start creating this whole drama where And you get in there, and all he says to you is, have you got that report? Could I have it? Yeah, sure. Here it is. And you, oh, you know, I mean, we can. It's the drama. It's the that we have to become aware of when we're actually losing control of our thought process, and our thoughts are controlling us. And that is where what has happened in the past and what is going to happen in the future. Yes, you have to plan for the future, but you can't dwell in the future because we're living in the right now. And what mindfulness does is it slows us down and brings us into the now.
Yeah.
Being aware of the toes in the shoes. You know, that, oh, yes, I'm here. What's happening right now? And if you can catch yourself when you're actually in that crazy thought process and take it, stop it, and actually reframe it and say, whoa, hang on. We don't know what's going to happen here yet.
Yeah.
So just take a step back, take a few deep breaths, and don't dramatize it. You don't know. So just deal with what you can do now, in the now.
Yeah.
Um,
And you have a great trick here that's it's a fantastic way of dealing with anxiety or anxiousness. Don't you want to also just share that with us, because I think it's such a practical way of doing it, and people can do it today. You know, they can use this the moment they hear this.
which one would that be?
The
The
five,
anxiety?
yeah, the
Oh,
five,
those ones. Yes, I
five,
thought
four,
it
three,
might be.
two, one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a great one. Okay.
Mm.
I must admit, I actually have had to use it from time to time myself. That's why I like it. So, kind of, you're getting yourself, you're catastrophizing, or you're ruminating, and you're going over something over and over and over again, and it is actually taking you down, and it's not helping because your thoughts are going into a negative spiral, and that's what you're going to manifest. Okay, so we have to learn how to pull ourselves out of that, reframe and refocus. So as Corey Muscara from mindfulness.com said, shift from the what if this is going to happen to what is right now.
Yeah.
And that is where we can stop and break those loops.
Yeah.
By using those 5 senses. And they've been around. So you list 5 things that it takes you back to the now. It takes you away from that going round and round. So you look around and you list 5 things that you can actually see. The laptop in front of you, your notebook beside you, the chair that you're sitting in, the lights that are actually shining, and looking out the window, the window's blowing. You can see those things. And then you stop and you actually start. So that's 5. Then you go on to the 4 things that you can hear. And it's actually quite interesting when you slow yourself down. Think, I didn't realize my computer hums like that.
Mm.
You know, when it's hot, or those birds are going crazy outside, or as we have well known, those hardy dogs, when they come over at 4 o'clock in the morning, we can hear them. So trying to focus on what you can hear right now. And maybe you can hear the traffic in the distance, or you can hear children playing and laughing. Then 3 things that you can feel. So I have a window open and I can actually feel a very nice breeze coming through here. And I'm sitting with my legs semi-crossed and the one is pressing against the chair. I can feel the pressure of that. Those are the kind of things. Focus on what you can feel. Starts getting a little tougher, but this is where you can now take yourself right into the now. 2 things that you can smell. and maybe one thing that you can taste. And maybe you've got that glass of water, that cup of coffee there. And you just taste that.
Yeah.
Oh, I can taste the coffee bean. This one, it's nicer than the cup I had earlier on today. There's something, and what you've done is you've actually taken yourself out of that completely frenetic, panicky moment with a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you can put that into practice at your desk immediately. And it can shift you out of that anxiousness.
I love that.
So that's basically also what meditation does.
Absolutely.
It is a nice one, isn't it?
Yeah, I love that.
So the meditation, what it does is it takes you out of that state of mind. And it can be, it has an, I'm just trying to think of some of the lists or the benefits of it, but the health benefits of actually meditating or using these things to slow your thought process down and calm you down can take you to a place where you are less stressed. And you'll recognize this or know what it's like when you can't think of something creative. And I don't mean artistic creation. I mean, what can I do? I need to come up with a plan for this person. And there's chaos going on around you. You can't, what meditation does is when it slows you down, it creates that gap, that space in your mind that allows the creative thinking to happen. And that's when the magic happens.
Yeah.
A lot of inventors have actually, if they've been able to interpret what their dreams are, that is their creative mind giving them an inspirational idea. And that is what imagination is about. And we have to nurture our imagination because that's what helps us to be creative. And in order to nurture our imagination, we need to make space in that crazy brain.
Yes.
So
Brenda,
that's where the power of the thoughts are.
it's so wonderful. You're so calming, and so you calm, like it's such a nice way of just like calming everything down. Even the way that you talk about it, it's so beautiful. If you could just leave us with and we're fast running out of time, so but if you could leave us with, how do we get hold of you? Because I know that you also say that you want to offer a 30-minute consult, but I'll leave you to share that with people. Where do we get hold of you? What's the easiest? And what is the offer that you're giving people for the first 3 people that give you a shot?
No obligations consult as to what I do and how, or even allow you to experience a meditation.
Yes.
That you can experience that. And then answer some of your questions about some of the healings that I actually do, such as the Reiki and the crystal healings and that, which a lot of people might think is a bit woo-woo, but it actually can be incredibly beneficial. I use it for people when they're about to go and have a procedure or an operation, and it often helps with the speed of recovery and things like that. So yes, the first 3 people that contact me, I'll no obligations consult with them.
Fantastic.
You can get me on Violet Flame, or you can email me at brenda@violetflame.co.za.
Just the signal went away there, so I'm just going to repeat. Guys, all the information that we are sharing today will be in the description box, and that's www.violetflame.co.za. And if you want to give Brenda a shout and meet with in person and have a free consult on a Reiki session, or at least just chat into about everything we've spoken about today, it's 082 8274 221. Brenda, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for your time. And it was such a pleasure to learn some wonderful tricks. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.